This gentleman is the #1 influencer in the world on LinkedIn, something which my boss would be quite happy about, Mr. Mike Bloomberg. So, Mohamed, we're going to have a great debate. This is the audience and you. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. It's a true honor and a pleasure. The world is becoming less stable. The world is becoming less predictable. The variance of projections are much larger today than they've been at any stage in the past. The message is that the world is being shaken, and not just by above, but also by below. That's why the consensus is so dangerous, because the consensus points to stability, but the reality points to increasing instability. In concluding, let me tell you, of course, there's always been one set of actors who have been able to stabilize things, and those are central banks. But central banks are less willing and less able to do so today, because they've realized that the benefits of unconventional policies have come down and the costs and risks have gone up. They realize that if you put central banks on a spectrum where over here is highly effective and over here is ineffective or counterproductive, the Bank of Japan is already somewhere between ineffective and counterproductive. The ECB is getting less effective, and the Fed doesn't want to go that way. So in the case of the Fed, it will be less willing to repress financial stability. Instead of thinking of the consensus, think of a simple image. The global economy is on a T-junction, what the British call a T-junction. The road that we're on is coming to an end. The road of stable growth and low, the road of banks repressing financial stability, that is ending. So that's the bit of the bottom bit of the T. The top bit of the T is there are two very different alternatives: pro-growth structural reforms and more fiscal policy. These are two of the four things that you would need to get us to the good road. But if the political class does not respond, we will end up with low growth giving way to recession and artificial financial stability giving way to unsettling financial volatility. The main message for you to have a successful year is not to focus on the average, but to focus on the difference component. And that means, for the Arab world, a lot more agility and a lot more resilience.
Will 2017 be a year in which we globally look towards fiscal stimulus? Trump has promised $1 trillion. The Brits have promised a small amount. Is 2017 a year in which fiscal policy trumps central bank policy?
The big question is Germany. That is, for you to make the statement, fiscal policy will trump monetary policy, you need Germany to join the US and the UK. And that is still really uncertain. If it doesn't, then something else happens: exchange rate divergence. If it doesn't, then we go back to the Reagan years, where you get looser fiscal, tighter monetary policy in the US. In Europe, monetary policy stays loose, not tightening like the Fed. Fiscal policy stays tight, not loosening that. And then the exchange market come under tremendous pressure.
Is inflation finally something we should want to embrace? I was always taught, embrace a little bit of inflation. It's not that bad.
What has the markets embraced? The trifecta of higher growth, higher inflation, and more money coming into the stock market. Why? Because there's a very high expectation that US companies will be repatriating the dollars they hold abroad and bring it back, and that part of that will be put back into the stock market. The irony of this low growth world we've been in is that it hasn't been a lack of capital. It's been a lack of confidence. When you're facing unusual uncertainty, you want to be sure that you have two elements that you continuously evolve. And that's true whether you're a government or whether you're a company. The first thing is you need resilience. The last 12 months have confirmed to you that it's impossible to predict the world. We are at a very strange juncture in which improbables becomes reality. So you need the resilience to live through unanticipated developments. And then you need the agility to be able to react quickly.
Yeah.
Having Mr. Putin himself involved in this and having Russia anchor over half of the non-OPEC production cut is really important. So I see OPEC as having settled between, on the one hand, the old days where they would announce an agreement and get the price effect, to what started happening in November 2014, which was a dissent saying, we no longer want to be the swing producer.
Yeah.
Now we are somewhere in the middle, but we've learned, OPEC has learned from this process. So I think this agreement actually has a much higher chance of success than previous ones. Brexit basically tells you, I don't know what the UK's trading arrangements with its biggest partner is going to look like. That is a big uncertainty. So yes, I suspect that in the short term, the reserve currency status of the UK will be eroded until we get clarity as to what the new trading arrangements are going to look like.
Your biggest concern for markets to the power of 3, 1, 2, 3, 2017, go.
One is we get anti-establishment movements having huge impact in the French election, the Dutch election, the German election. And next thing you know, there are so many things in play that the markets simply say the uncertainty is too high. We're going to go back to the sideline. And next thing you know, you get a rather nasty reaction in stocks.